Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. It's time to grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back and relax so we can chat about what is happening here in the stars above us for this week, the third week of December. And it is a week that is pretty quiet, actually. It has a bit of reflection around it, a reflective feel around this week, as this is the week we're heading into the winter solstice, which, if we were counting this on our astrological calendar, we would be entering into the third quarter of the year, right? So, or the final, excuse me, fourth quarter of the year, and this would be a time for us to reflect on what we've done, where we're going, what we desire, and focusing on, as we'll see today during the broadcast, focusing on the light. And that is the theme of the week, literally, the light, with the sun in the gate 11 in your human design. And the gate 11 sits up on the ajna, the second center down. And it is literally a light oriented energy. And yet, in its shadow, it's obscurity, which literally means the inability to see the light, or the light darkened, right? So, darkening of your vision. It could be related to the fact that our days are quite short now, at least in the northern part of the hemisphere, and that it's, getting ready to become the winter solstice, which is signaling the return of the light. So we'll talk about how all of that plays in today. We're also going to take a look at the moons, but we're going to look at them a little differently. Um, as I was looking at the week ahead, I thought, well, what if there's a theme in the week's worth of moons, right? The moon today is in the sign of Cancer, moving into Leo later in the week, and then finally into Virgo to end the week. Although there's a quick stint in Libra as we get into Sunday late afternoon and evening. So, what would that mean in the context of the light and all of that? So, we're going to look at the moon a little differently. And then we have a couple of transits this week, the sun in a square to Neptune, and a Venus trine Jupiter. So those things also kind of count toward the energy that we're experiencing for the week ahead. And then on Friday, or Saturday actually, we have the winter solstice that occurs at 1:21 a.m. in that specific time. So we'll take a look at what the winter solstice chart holds for us as we get into later in the week. All right. So, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me here. I saw Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel, and she says, "Good morning, peeps. Hit that like button, please." Thank you, Debbie. Hit the like or the thumbs up button. And then also, please share your with your social media and your friends, family, etc. Good morning to Julie. She says, "Good morning, Astro Design family." And she's looking forward to the webinar this Thursday, which, if you are on YouTube at the moment, you're seeing that link as a message in the video. And in a few minutes, I will switch that to Facebook so you all can see that. And I got to tell you, I have been working for, I don't know, days, maybe weeks even, on this webinar, because there's so much for 2025, and it almost defies being able to put it into one webinar as to what it is that we're going to be experiencing. And so what's become very clear to me as I've put this webinar together is that there are several different webinars throughout this year that we will be working through, and not sure yet when those will be. Definitely somewhere between January and March. March seems to be the time when, what breaks loose. So we'll be talking more about that as time goes on. If you have not yet purchased or registered for the webinar, that is the link there. And you can still do that up until Thursday morning. The webinar is at 12 noon Pacific time. It is recorded, so if you can't make it, then you can get access to it after it's after the broadcast, it'll go up on Thrivecart where you get the link to go to that right as you purchase. All righty. Let's see who else is out there this morning. I see Terry. I see Teddy. I see Narges. I see Kamal. Good morning, Kamal. We haven't seen you in a while. It's good to have you join us. And Tamara, good morning. And Chester's mom, good morning to you. And Chester's mom, LS, I forgot to ask you how things are going in North Carolina in the aftermath of all that rain that you all had. So maybe just check in with us and let us know how you're doing there. Good morning, Amy D. Tamara says she has a class again today at 11:30, so we'll be here until then, and then watch the rest in the recording. Good deal. Good morning, Christine. Good morning, Londa. Good morning, Catherine. So good to have you all joining me. Londa says she's on her way to the airport to fly home from Nevada. Now, I didn't even know you were in Nevada, and I'm like your friend and I live not too far from you. How did I not know? All right, you guys, let's dive in since we do have quite a bit to talk about this morning. So, first of all, let's talk about the moon and her journey this week through the signs of Cancer, Leo, and Virgo. And here we have, I'm trying to place these things now into stories, right? A story. This is a story of emotional growth and grounding. And as she, moves through these signs, we're taken on a journey that's both emotional and intuitive. And it moves us from self reflection, kind of a deep self reflection, to creative expression, and then finally into practical alignment. And it's like this stair step that you see through the week. And I'm wondering if every week is like this and we just hadn't noticed, or I hadn't noticed, you all might have noticed. And so let's talk first about the moon in Cancer. And Cancer, as you know, is a water sign, and it is a sign that is ruled by the moon. This is her home. And in her home, Luna can become very powerful as a source of emotional and intuitive energy. And it's very nurturing energy and very reflective. The moon can only reflect the light of the sun, right? She doesn't have any light of her own. She is reflective. And the Cancer moon then invites us to connect to our inner emotional world and to honor our feelings and our emotions. And then also focusing on home and family and self care. It is kind of a great reminder to have the moon in Cancer here as we're, getting closer and closer to Christmas time and how our lives have, been speeding up over this last couple of weeks. So, the key message with the moon in Cancer is that this is a time to anchor yourself in the emotional fulfillment of home and family, foundations, roots, the things that make you feel steady and also comfortable. Um, Tend to your emotional roots and reflect on what you need in order to feel secure and supported and safe, right? Safe and warm. Cancer is a sign that really thrives when all of the things are taken care of, like food in the refrigerator and in the cupboards, right? That there is roof over your head, that family is nearby. It is a sign that really loves that and thrives in that atmosphere. But there is a challenge to this moon, and the challenge with the moon in Cancer is about clinginess, holding on to the past and becoming overly protective, mothering as opposed to just mothering energy. And there is sometimes a wish that we didn't have to feel those emotions, that we weren't emotionally vulnerable, but allowing ourselves to live in that vulnerable place of emotional energy can really help us grow and evolve. So that's our moon in Cancer. She is in Cancer until Tuesday, later afternoon, my time, evening for those of you on the East Coast, and later in the night for those of you in UTC time zones. And then, of course, her move into Leo. Now, in Leo, it is about expressing our inner light. The moon in Leo is about self expression. And her emotional tone here becomes different. It's more bold and playful and creative. And the Leo moon inspires us to step into the spotlight, to be seen, to share your unique gifts and your unique talents, and to lead with our hearts, right? This is a sign of the heart. Leo rules the heart literally in the physical body, and it is our aligning with what it is that we love and leading with that energy. The key message here then is after the introspection of Cancer, Leo encourages us to shine brightly and to reconnect with joy and to reconnect with the message that only you uniquely can share with others, right? You each have your own gifts and talents, and those are the things that you're meant to share. And it's a time when the moon is in Leo to celebrate our individuality and to embrace self expression. The challenge, though, is the need to balance our feelings of needing to be recognized with genuine connection with others. So avoid letting your ego or pride overshadow your authenticity, right? Leo can get over blown, can get very prideful and egoic. The key is to stay in the middle, right? Stay in your heart and share with love so that what you are sharing and expressing comes about through authenticity and not through being forced or generated by that ego energy. And then later, let's see, we're in Leo until Thursday, late night here in the West Coast. So it'll be Friday morning for those of you mostly in the other half of the country. And then the moon will be in Virgo. And, it's interesting because Virgo is a sign of grounding and refining. And the emotional tone here, and I'm saying emotional tone because the moon rules our emotions and our intuition. And that's what the body is that we're working on right now is the moon, right? So the emotional tone of the moon in Virgo is focused, it's practical, it's organized, it's healing. Virgo energy is healing. And the Virgo moon helps us drift from, or shift, not drift, shift from this creativity and of Leo into productivity that is productive action, right? Taking the steps, refining our plans, and tending to the details of whatever it is that we were in the process of creating for ourselves and for others. So the key message of the moon in Virgo becomes an invitation to help us ground and to ground the emotions that have been stirred up by Cancer and the inspiration sparked by Leo. And it's a time to align intentions with practical steps that serve ourselves, but also serve others, right? The whole idea is about sharing of yourself. We do have to watch, though, for the moon in Virgo can become overly perfectionistic and self critical. Or just overly analytical and overthinking. So strive for balance rather than trying to um, achieve the unattainable, right? And then beating yourself up for not being able to achieve the unattainable. And if we weave the story together, right? If we weave these three, we have Cancer that reflects and is our roots, right? And the journey begins this week with emotional introspection. And what do we need to feel safe, to feel loved, and to feel nurtured? Could be a question that you could ask of yourself. And then she shifts her energy into Leo, where it's creativity and expression. And from the foundation of security that the moon provided in Cancer, we move into the more confident self expression of Leo. And then the question becomes how can we share our light with the world? And then Virgo, grounding and refining. Finally, we ground this energy of self expression, of nurturing emotional energy, and we focus that onto serving others and healing and purposeful action. And the question then becomes what practical steps will bring our vision to life, right? You had the vision. Now, what brings it to life, and what must you do in order to get that done? So, all of us experiencing those three energies specifically over the course of this week. Virgo takes us through until Sunday morning, 11:08 my time. So, Sunday afternoon for those of you on the East Coast. when she will move into Libra, and the focus then will shift to relationships and to balancing and harmonizing our lives. So, we'll talk more about that one perhaps on Friday. All right. So that's our moon. And the main theme that I wanted to get to today is about the sun in the gate 11 in your human design, which is the gate of light. Or in quantum human design, it's called the gate of the conceptualist, the gate of ideas, right? So we have several different names. It's not specifically called the gate of light. That's how I think of the gate 11. And it is a gate that really helps us to see that even though we're headed into winter here and the shortest day of the year, and that the nights at this point are very long, that there is just this light that we can focus on. If there's just a pinpoint of light and we focus on the light, then it makes it bigger, right? It brings it into more focus for us and so forth. So this is a time of the year when we get to look at this particular gate and through this idea of light. Hold on, I'm going to shift something here really quickly. For those of you who are on Facebook, there is the link for you to sign up for the Astro Design 2025 webinar coming up this Thursday. All right, so let's dive into the sun in the gate 11. So the gate 11 is a gate that sits on the ajna, the second center down. That center is about thinking, and it's the mind energy, right? So every gate in there has something to do with the mind. And the gate of ideas, the gate 11, is a fertile source of inspiration, and it offers up a continuous flow of creative and visionary concepts. And that is happening for everybody right now. It actually moved into that gate yesterday. So you might find yourself being flooded with ideas when maybe normally it's not that big of a deal for you. But it is a gate where ideas take shape and they remain possibilities, right, until acted upon. And if you're someone who has the gate 11 defined by something, I do. I have it defined by Earth in my human design. And you may be someone who's always kind of flooded with a lot of idea energy, right? Inspired by many different things. And then trying to take action on all of those ideas can really blow out your energy. So we have to be very careful here because we are meant to take action on some ideas. We are meant to share ideas with others sometimes. And at other times, they're just ideas, just things that are filtering through. So we have this creative flow being established for us. Interesting with the moon and Leo here this week, sometime too. So we're in a period of time that is rich with ideas and inspiration and possibilities. However, these ideas aren't all meant to be acted upon nor are they meant to manifest immediately. Right? Some ideas maybe are for later and they are possibilities to sift through. It's like having this little Rolodex or card catalog of ideas, and at some point you can go through there and go, "Oh yeah, I remember when I had that idea. Now's a perfect time to act on that idea." So there are possibilities, and deciding which ones becomes the problem, right? That becomes the issue. And this is where I would say you need to know what your strategy is and you need to know what your authority is in your human design in order to make those best decisions, right? Otherwise, we find ourselves leaping into and out of ideas one after the other because we're doing it incorrectly and maybe even doing it in the wrong timing, right? You know how it is to get inspired by something and you leap into it. And then partway through it, you're like, oh, yeah, maybe this isn't exactly what I wanted to do. So the challenge of the sun at the gate 11 becomes getting overwhelmed by this flood of ideas. And we need to focus on something that is important for us, right? That is meant for us. So we need discernment. Discernment becomes a key word here. What is it that truly resonates with your values and your path forward? Not all the ideas are going to resonate that deeply enough that you may want to take action on them. But should you take action on them, right? That's the question. But the gift of this particular placement of the sun is that it's a time to open yourself up to diverse perspectives and to really think outside of the box and allow your imagination to soar, but don't necessarily, uh, allow that imagination to unground you and take you into territory in actions that are not meant for you at this time, right? You have to really know your type, your strategy, and your authority to really get that, right? So, what I mean by this, for example, if you're a generator type, there's manifesting generators and generators. If you're that type, your strategy is to respond to what shows up in the outer world. Definitely not from what comes up in the ajna at gate 11, right? It's in your head. It's inspiration, it's idea, it unless you have something in the outer world that you are responding to, that idea is not yet ready to be made manifest, right? So it just remains a possibility. But at some point, perhaps you see something in the outer world or somebody brings it to your attention that this would be a good time to act on something. Then you have a response that you can make. And if you're, say, a projector needs an invitation. And an invitation isn't necessarily just me inviting you in to say or do or be something. It could be life in general inviting you in, right? A comment that you hear, banding around a room. And you're like, oh, yeah, I've thought of that too. That can be life as an invitation. A person actually asking you for something that you've been thinking about doing, right? So the idea needs to wait for the invitation. The idea itself isn't the invitation. And of course, you all have authority as well. And authority is the sort of extra tool that you have that helps you align with the correct decision. And it might be emotional, which means that you're not designed to be spontaneous. You're waiting for clarity over time. It could be splenic, which means you're very intuitive, and intuition comes in, it speaks, it says, do this or don't do this, or this is the right time, and then it doesn't come back. But then if you don't take action on it, you've lost the moment, right? And then sacral, maybe you have sacral authority, which is your body's wisdom speaking in the moment. And that might feel like a prompt, like in the body being pushed towards something or pushed away from something or pulled towards something rather. And those things are all key to you as an individual. So look up your human design, find out what is my type, what is my strategy, what is my authority, so that you can act upon the right ideas at the right time when you have the right people and the right opportunity around you. So now the earth is in the gate 12. Now, the gate 12 is called the gate of the channel in quantum human design. And I believe in traditional human design, it was called the gate of openness, maybe, or caution. I think that's more I Ching. But the gate 12 is about self expression, it's on the throat center and sharing ideas with others, but in a thoughtful and impactful way. It encourages discernment, the what, the when, and the how for you to communicate your ideas and to share them with others. So the 12 is kind of a little bit of the brake pedal in all of this, right? That it gives you the caution enough to not speak to something until it's the right time. So the gate 12 earth actually grounds us by reminding us to choose carefully when and how to express our ideas. And not every moment is right for action or for sharing, right? And again, that takes us back to what is your strategy? What is your authority? And that will help you always to be in the right flow of timing to share with others. So the challenge in the gate 12 is really about the risk in either holding back and not speaking your ideas, like holding back too much, or by expressing too soon, prematurely expressing the idea, which then can lead to your frustration or to misunderstandings with others, right? So knowing timing and timing in that particular gate, but also in the throat center, works best with an invitation. Someone says, "Hey, I really want to hear about that Astro Design 2025 webinar that you're talking about." Oh, okay. Now the gate 12 opens and is being shared. The right timing comes with that invitation. Now, invitations are two-way doors too, by the way. So someone can either invite you, or maybe you start to hear conversation around a room or something and you ask a question. Hey, have you heard about the number of planets changing signs in 2025? Do you want to hear more about that? And that then elicits an invitation. They'll say, "Yeah, I want to hear about that." And you share. That is how invitation can work in the throat center. And the gift here is that when you are aligned, you are enabled to speak with authenticity and power. And then you become a channel for higher truths and for meaningful communication. Otherwise, it's all just words and it comes off as just a bunch of fluff or just a bunch of chatty Cathy kind of energy, right? And understanding how that gate 12 works is it's a process, right? But the earth helping us to ground that in so that in the right timing, when the right people are amassed, then we can share the idea from the sun with the people around us, right? Okay. Any questions about that, then let us know. Let me know down here in the comments and I'll come back to that. Now, how do these gates lead us to the winter solstice? Because I was really thinking about this morning, how interesting it is that the light of gate 11, the ideas of gate 11, and the discernment of gate 12, how these are the last gates, these two are the last gates before we get to the winter solstice, which represents in human design a turning of the seasons, but also a turning of the tides of energy, right? So things begin to shift. And I thought about this as an integration of our ideas and how we express them, right? Because anytime we get to a solstice or an equinox, it really does represent the potential for a new beginning. Now, not like a setting of intentions that a new moon would bring, but more like a seasonal look at what now is possible, right? And if we were to look at a chart for the winter solstice, we would be able to see, okay, what does this next 3 months bring and what is possible, right? So as we approach the winter solstice, the gate 11 invites us to reflect on the ideas we've accumulated so far throughout the year, and then the gate 12 asks us to consider how we want to express those ideas and whether we want to act upon them now or in the future. And then this period becomes the time about discerning which ideas to carry forward into the new cycle and then aligning with them with our higher purpose, right? So it becomes a tell, if you will, about what comes next, right? What comes next in that grand scheme. So this is solstice energy preparation. And the winter solstice represents that turning point, a time to honor the darkness, while, especially if you're in the northern hemisphere, not so much if you're in the southern hemisphere, while welcoming the returning light, right? Because what happens 3 days after the solstice is we have the first discernible um, time where the day gets longer, right? One maybe just a minute longer than it was on the winter solstice. And gate 11 sparks the visionary seeds, while gate 12 ensures that they get expressed authentically as the light grows stronger. I hope all this is making sense for you. And it is also a call for us to reflect and align. This is a time to pause and to reflect and to prepare for a new cycle of growth. The seasons always represent that next part of the cycle of growth. And what ideas inspire you for the future? What truths, do you want to express, or what do you want to channel as we move into the next season? So it is a big deal to have those two gates actually bring us into the solstice. And now I kind of want to show you how this gets deepened through the gene keys, right? Because both systems, human design and the gene keys, they're similar. But in the gene keys, we get this opportunity to see the energy of these gates as a journey. So if we look at the 11, where the sun is this week, the sun at gate 11 or gene key 11 takes us on a journey from the shadow of obscurity, where confusion and distraction sort of dominate, to the gift of idealism, which envisions a better future. And finally, the highest expression, the city of light, a state of pure illumination and universal truths. So it's an interesting journey. We're coming from the darkness or from obscurity into the light through idealism. And the theme in the shadow, we're going to deal with the shadow first of obscurity. And this one's always gotten to me, right? Because Richard Rudd said something very profound one time in a webinar many, many moons ago about how that if even a pinpoint of light exists and we focus our vision on that light or we focus our attention on that light, that it will grow, right? It's our focus on it. So if we focus on the darkness will grow too. But if we can focus even on just this little pinpoint of light, the light will grow. So in the shadow of obscurity, however, we have confusion and we have lack of clarity. And in the shadow, we become lost in distractions and conflicting ideas, unable to discern what is truly meaningful for us. It is really dark in that place. And how that manifests if we're living in the shadow of the gene key 11 is that we get overwhelmed by a flood of ideas or a flood of influences from those people around us, or just in general from the world around us. And then we struggle to find clarity or purpose amidst these different competing narratives and these competing ideas. And then we can feel disconnected from our inner truth or from our higher vision as that's all because we're in the struggle, right? And the energy pattern here obscures or clouds the mind, right? This, remember, gate 11 is in the mind, and it keeps us in a cycle of distraction and mental chaos, and it makes it very difficult to see the light of our true purpose. So if you're feeling this, right, if you are in this shadow of obscurity, the need is to change your focus to the light, right? And to relax, to just allow what it needs to be defined for you will come further in time. The gift of idealism. I love this one. The ability to see beyond the present moment and envision a brighter future. This is the capacity to weave hope and a possibility into tangible ideas. This is, this Virgo moon that we have this week, later in the week, is the grounding and the ability to weave things into some kind of tangible reality. And the manifestation here is about seeing the potential, what's possible in situations, and what is it that we can inspire others with in our vision, and then cultivate creativity and imagination while grounding ideas with purpose, right? If you have an idea, it needs to be grounded with purpose, right? So the gift of idealism brings with it a sense of optimism and a higher perspective, right? Allowing us to see things from that higher plane or from that higher perspective. So the energy pattern here of idealism transforms confusion of the shadow of obscurity into inspiration, and by focusing on what aligns with our higher values, right? Yours is different than mine, is different than someone else's. So, what is it that you value? We can turn that obscurity into meaningful insight, which is the whole plan, right? Turning it into insight. When we get to the highest expression, the city of light, the highest expression here, it represents the ultimate clarity and illumination. And in this state, duality dissolves, right? The in, if, and, or, what do I do, this or that? That all dissolves. And we perceive the universal truth that unites all things. So the manifesting of this is in pure awareness, where all ideas sort of converge into one essence, right? Into one essence. And we become living beacons of light, right? The graphic I used this morning epitomizes this, where it's the searchlight of a lighthouse, right? The beacon of light, the beacon of truth that inspires others to see beyond illusions, to see beyond limitations, even. And it radiates, then we begin to radiate a sense of peace and unity and divine purpose. So this is the city of light that brings enlightenment, where the mind becomes a clear channel for universal truth and for higher consciousness, right? We need more of this on this planet right now. So, practical insights then for the gate 11 or the gene key 11. The shadow work here: recognize where you are feeling mentally scattered or distracted. And, with Jupiter and Gemini as well, this has been an issue for us, feeling scattered, so much going on. And then you add the holidays to it, and you add big projects that are coming to completion, and you can get very scattered. So shift your focus inward to identify the idea that is really worth your time, your effort, and that really truly resonate with you and your purpose. Embrace the gift, right? The gift of idealism by balancing imagination with grounded action, and use your vision to inspire others and to create tangible pathways for change, right? Change is a big word for 2025. I'm just going to give you that, but I'm going to give you a whole new word for that, uh, only in the webinar, though. Living the city. How do we live the light? Open yourself then to moments of deep insight and trust that the light within you will guide you to the right idea at the right time with the right people, and meditate on unity as a way for clarity and for divine wisdom. So, all of that is the gene key 11. And if we now do that same thing with the gene key 12, where the earth is, we can get an idea of what is grounding for us in order to reach that city of light. All right. So, let's see, checking the time. We're doing good. Okay. So, gene key 12 takes us through the transformative journey of through the shadow of vanity, where the focus is overly self centered and ego driven, to the gift of discrimination, where truth and authenticity guide us. And then finally to the city of purity, which is a state of divine expression and absolute truth, right? There's no equivocating what the truth is there. And in the gate 12 or gene key 12, shadow of vanity, we have ego driven self expression and superficiality. We're just, skimming the surface. And vanity is an interesting word. It seeks external validation and prioritizes image over substance. So I think we can all think of people or even times in our own existence where, that was what we were most interested in, and perhaps the gate 12 had been triggered at that point in time. The manifestation of the gene key 12 shadow of vanity is craving attention and admiration to feed your ego, right? Just to feed the ego. And it could be about expressing yourself in a way that masks insecurities rather than revealing authenticity. And it focuses on appearances rather than deeper truths or purpose. So vanity traps individuals, traps us in shallow interactions where self worth becomes tied to how others perceive us and not in our real truth and our real gorgeous self worthiness. And then that prevents true connection and soul growth, right? It keeps us tied to the small self. Now, in the gift of discrimination, It is the ability to discern truth from illusion, to discern truth from falsehood, to understand authenticity from pretense. And discrimination allows for clarity and what to express, when to express it, who to express it at or to, not at, and helps us to create meaningful and impactful communication, right? Remember, the 12 is on the throat center. So it becomes the energy of speaking, of sharing, of information, but also of creativity expressed, manifested, right? It's a gate the throat center is about manifestation. And it manifests through speaking truth with integrity and choosing words that uplift and inspire and understanding the right time and the right place and the right message to share your voice and your ideas, right? The right timing is so important in the throat center. And then it attracts genuine relationships by you expressing your true self, being you, right? Wholly you. So discrimination transforms into purposeful expression and it creates a channel for truth and authenticity that really resonates deeply with others, right? It's like the throat center, when it's worked correctly, becomes a source of inspiration for self and others, right? And this is the gift in the gate 12. Now, the city of purity, this is so interesting, right? Because I don't usually think of that as a word that I would want to, of beingness, of what I would become. But the highest expression of the gene key 12 is purity, where speech and action flow from divine essence. And in this state, all communication reflects truth, reflects love, and higher purpose. So it's when we're really in our hearts and we're speaking from that divine place. We're living as a clear channel for divine truth and inspiration, right? That's purity. Expressing ourselves with simplicity and sincerity that transcends ego. And then radiating purity of heart. Purity of heart, I think it's where I get the understanding. Purity of heart and intention, and inspiring others to align with their higher truths, their higher purpose, their higher wisdom. So purity represents the divine power of simplicity, where words and deeds, where words and actions become sort of pathways for universal truths and touching others at a soul level, right? Just reaching in and really penetrating into the heart of someone. So, practical insights for the Gene Key 12, shadow work. Notice when you're seeking validation or when you're acting from fear of rejection, and then shift your focus inward, right? Realign your expression with your heart and with your authentic self. Embracing the gift, practice discernment in what you say and how you say it, right? Really watching the words. Communicate from a place of truth, right? Ensuring that your words are purposeful, meaningful, uplifting, and coming from the heart. And then living in the siddhi, the highest level, meditating on divine simplicity, perhaps, right? Allowing yourself to become just this vessel for higher truth and letting go of the ego driven desires that I have to be heard, you have to understand me, etc., etc. So, how does the gene key 12 connect to the gene key 11, right? That's always like my question. These two are pairs, they come together, right? You never see in a week of the calendar where the gene key or the gate 11 is paired with a different gate. It's always paired with the 12. And even when we get to June, where these flip, it's the sun at gate 12 and the earth at gate 11. They stay pairs. So the gate 11, shadow of obscurity, and vanity in gate 12 both stem from a lack of clarity, whether through scattered ideas or ego driven expression. And together they highlight the need to let go of illusion and self doubt, right? That's how these two work together. At the gift level, Gene Key 11's idealism meets with it kind of fuels the visionary ideas, right? It's the fuel for the idea. And the gate 12 discrimination ensures that the right ideas are shared and that they're shared thoughtfully and authentically. So, together, the gift level of these two gene keys creates impactful and purposeful communication. And when we get to the city, the light of gate 11 and the purity of gate 12 come together to reflect universal truths where both vision, seeing the bigger picture, and expression become divine channels for higher purpose, sort of being the channel for the divine, transmitting energies and ideas that come from your connection to source. All right. And then let's take a look quickly at people. What are they saying here? Da, 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 da. Any questions? Okay, Christine says 11.3 Saturn, Sagittarius, mind side makes sense about every overthinking ideas. Indeed, right? And if you have that, as you say, on a defined ajna, right? A defined ajna is defined to think, right? So I wouldn't want to take thinking away from you, right? That could become more troublesome, right? If you're trying not to think, then the more that you try not to think, the more you're thinking. But you're not thinking about the right things, then you're thinking about how to not think. So thinking for you is a natural thing. But the clue for you is about the overthinking or overanalyzing. Right. For you, it's uber important to, yeah, devote some time to thinking, but also stay grounded in your body. And what is your strategy and your authority in terms of how do I act on any of those ideas that are filtering through? So it becomes very important for you to understand, yes, you're a thinker, but don't make the decisions from thinking. It just doesn't happen for anybody in the world. There is no authority in the mind. It's always about awareness, right? The awareness, the thinking process, the comparing and contrasting and what have you. Um, so hopefully that's helpful. Kiki, good morning. She says, gracious greetings, Chandra. I'm not sure how to say that. Hey there. How do we stay aligned and be a channel for higher discernment when we are triggered or someone or others are accusing you of things that aren't true or upset with you for things? Super great question, Chandra, because first of all, it is not your job to chase the cats of other people's emotions and their feelings and their thoughts. That is not your job, right? Not your job at all. You cannot make other people think differently, right? You can share information, you can share your ideas. It's up to them how they take that in. It is up to them what they do with that. You're just the vessel for the divine transmission. Now, that means that you also have to monitor, though, when it is that you get triggered by what other people think, or if they are, in this case, as you said, accusing you of things that aren't true, or if they're upset with you for things. Again, not your circus, not your monkey. You it's authentic for them to be upset with you, perhaps, right? That's their authenticity. Your job is to say, I'm sorry that you are upset with me, but this is what I think and this is what I'm doing. It is not your job to make them feel better. It is your job to stay aligned with your divine potential. It is up to you to stay aligned with your heart, with your soul, right? That's your job. And sometimes that comes with a whole lot of discipline around responding versus reacting to what other people are saying or doing, right? And so somebody triggers you, right? They say something that really irritates you. And it happens to all of us, not just you, right? All of us, especially when we get together at holidays, and it's just the way the times are right now, we all get triggered by things people say or by things people do. The one thing that you can do is to breathe in, calm yourself before you respond, right? You don't want to knee jerk react and tell people they're stupid, right? Or you're an idiot, or you don't know what you're talking about. That is not your job. Your job is to stay cool and calm and Take a look at it from the other's perspective. What is it, anybody in your life is acting as a mirror for you. So what is in the mirror that that person and their reaction is showing you about you? Are you afraid of rejection? Right? Are you afraid that your ideas or what you're saying doesn't have merit? Are you afraid that you're not good enough? Right? Because there's this shadow that you're seeing reflected to you from that person. And again, this isn't about you blaming yourself for the interaction. It's about saying, well, okay, why is this person showing up in my life with this anger directed at me? What is that about for me? And then how can I work through that? First, I'm going to breathe. And then I'm just going to say, this is how I'm going to respond, whatever that is going to be for you. Certainly, hopefully, not with anger or with having to defend yourself. There is nothing to defend, right? You are perfect just the way you are. And if that person doesn't like that, that isn't your job to make them happy. It isn't your job to make them like you or to understand you better, right? I hope all that's making sense for you. So she says, however, how do you apply this, or when do people or do when people are reacting and calling you names? If people are calling you names, Chandra, it's time for you to say, I offer you love and support. Thank you very much. I'm out. Right? You do not need to stay in the shadow of all of that. You you have every right to be who you are with your opinions, your ideas, and with your thoughts, and with your beingness, and your love, and your heart, and your everything, right? And if those people don't understand that, or if they are blaming and shaming you, these are not your peeps. You don't belong around them. Go find new friends or find new groups or limit your amount of time that you spend with those people. That is in your power, right? That is in your power. And I would never put myself around people that are going to call me names, derogatory names. If you want to call me beautiful and wonderful and all that, yay, okay, I'll be around you. But if you're going to blame or shame me or say nasty things about me, I do not need to be around you. That is your choice. That is your power, right? Your power is to walk away. Okay. I hope, right? Let me know how that lands with you. Okay, let's see timing wise here. Um, So let's take a look at the main aspects of the week. If anybody else has any questions, please go ahead and put those down there in the comments. We have two main aspect patterns happening this week that are also playing into this whole idea of the light, of being genuine and heart centered and self expressive. And the first one is the sun in a square to Neptune. And this is a waning square, which means that remember the sun began his journey with Neptune last March. And then when the sun moved into the conjunction with Neptune in Pisces, and then reached the first square, reached the opposition in September, well, in Virgo, and now we're at the waning square. So this is a clash of energies between visionary idealism, perhaps, and practical clarity. And the sun in Sagittarius is seeking truth and seeking adventure and meaning, while Neptune in Pisces is dissolving and dissolving boundaries typically. And that introduces confusion into the atmosphere and creates maybe unrealistic expectations around things. So while this aspect, the square, can heighten our imagination and our spiritual awareness, it can also cloud our judgment and create disillusionment. So we have to be very much aware of where we are in all of this at all times. So it's an excellent time for deep spiritual exploration, for reflecting on what's going on within you, for creative inspiration, for opening yourself to new perspectives, seeing things from a different place. It encourages dreaming big and expanding your vision for the future. But there's challenge, right? The challenge is about confusion, about unrealistic expectations, and or escapism, how we want to escape from the problems. So avoid overcommitting to any ideas that lack any kind of tangible grounding energy. And the key question that you can ask of yourself with this transit this week is about, how can I balance optimism and vision with discernment and practicality, right? We have to have both, both. And then we also have Venus in Aquarius and trining, which is a positive 120-degree relationship between Jupiter in Gemini and Venus in Aquarius. So it's a harmonious trine between Venus, who represents love and relationships and values, and Jupiter, that is about expansion and abundance. And it brings us a sense of optimism. This is like the two benefics getting together and having tea. And they bring a sense of optimism and joy and growth to us. So this is a very powerful, positive aspect for the week to have. It's also mentally stimulating, socially engaging. We get to be talkative and playful, and it encourages positive connections and forward thinking ideas, seeing into the future. And it can be a great time for collaboration, for making meaningful connections with people, exploring new ideas, etc. Now, there's a challenge, of course. Now, while this is generally a positive aspect to have, avoid spreading yourself too thin, right? And by overcommitting yourself, your actions here have a lot to cause, overcommitment, stress, anxiety. But done right, this can bring the joy, the optimism of something that feels good for you to do. So, how can you expand, but without over committing your time, your energy, your resources, and yet remain open and available for growth and evolution? So, the way these two play into the shaping of the week's energy is challenging us to really align our ideals with reality, right? Ideals with reality, encouraging reflection, counterbalancing the tension of the square by offering joyful collaboration, opportunities to come together. It is, really a week to expand with joy, to with the emotional flow of energies, and to balance vision and reality, right? So important. Um, so I'm going to pull a card. Last comments. Christine, exactly. Please don't tolerate abuse. Maybe the lesson is to learn boundaries. Good one, Christine. Take back your personal power. And Christine can relate to this. Hope life gets better for you. Chandra says, very great. Thank you. Lots for me to decide and learn better, more healthy ways of interacting and avoiding this when it comes to a spouse and in-laws. Oh my goodness. So one of the things that would help you, Chandra, is to get a human design reading, or at least get your human design chart, as that will help you to understand. I feel like you might have an open identity center and you're not clear about how lovable you really are, or how much self-worth to that you really bring, and self-esteem. And then that means that you could easily fall, prey to others that are around you, thinking that they're telling you truth about you that really isn't truth. So I would check that out. Okay, let's pull a card. I feel like we need a Dreamweaver's card today. Okay. And somebody asked me to pull this for you, Londa. Uh, so this will be for you, right? And you'll have to tell me how it lands. Oh my gosh. A firebird is called to soar. You guys just tune into that image, because yeah, that is the big one for 2025. A firebird is called to soar. Card number 28, which is 10, which is a 1, right? A new beginning. The essential meaning here is being fully yourself, knowing who you are and who you're becoming. Authenticity, shining on behalf of the divine. Do you know who you are, what you truly value, what matters to you, and how you genuinely feel about things? Can you be that person without worrying what others think? Chandra, this card may be for you. You are a unique and special being with your own path, your own journey to travel. You have incarnated with a purpose built into your very being. You don't have to look for it ever. It's inside you and has been all along. This is something to celebrate. Just as a great symphony is made up of many instruments, each one integral to the whole, your special note is essential to the great song of life. You need to play your note and not someone else's. So at this moment, being yourself, speaking up about what's important to you, and making choices from an authentic desire to participate is always what's best for everyone. You have come so far in your life. It's time to be proud of who you are and what you have to offer the world. Like a firebird is called to soar, so are you called to express the fullness of yourself and shine. Just remember your true heart. It's okay to be vulnerable. Take off the masks you hide behind. Then and only then can you make an empowered choice to fly. Are you ready? The dream weavers think you are. I love it. The Firebird, also known as a phoenix. Hmm, I just gave away something. All right, you guys, that is it for me today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you on Friday. And that will be the 20th. Woo, getting close to Christmas. All right, y'all, take care. Much love. Bye for now.